Nikki, we had a motion to come out of camera by, okay. You let me know when you're ready. Good morning, afternoon. Thanks for being here. I'm calling the regular board meeting to order at 2:14. We're a little bit late, but we'll call it to order now and have our land acknowledgement from Trustee Gimber, please.
Oki, hello. Welcome to our division office located on the traditional land and territory of the Niitsitapi, Piikani, Kainai, and Siksika, the Blackfoot people within the Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta.
Thank you, Trustee Gimber. We'll now stand for the singing of O Canada.
Wir halten Wort dir treu. Ese manito. Virtud fe. O Canada, stringiamo il tuo bel cor. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to the consent agenda. The recommendation that the November 14th, 2022 consent agenda be approved by the Board of Trustees as presented. Or amended. Can I get someone to make that motion? Trustee Long, thank you very much. Okay. Anything that needs to be discussed or pulled? Seeing none. All those in favor? Perfect, thank you. We'll move on to item C, emergent changes to the agenda. The recommendation is that the November 14th, 2022 regular board meeting agenda be approved by the Board of Trustees as presented or amended. Can I get someone to make that motion? Trustee Yegas? Are there any emergent changes? Seeing none. All in favor? Thank you. We'll move on to declaration of conflict of interest. The recommendation that the Board of Trustees declare if they have any conflict of interest related to agenda items from the November 14th, 2022 board meeting, and if so, please declare them now. Seeing none. Thank you. We'll move on to our action items. Action item E1 is around Board Policy 8. I am not going to read the intro. I believe Trustee Gimber will speak to it, and I will just read the recommendation. The recommendation is, because supplemental information provided during presentations often contains additional information for consideration, and because it takes time to properly reflect on information to develop a full and complete understanding, and because trustees are expected to perform due diligence before making decisions, the board recommends that all presenters to the board shall submit their supplemental presentation material to be included in the agenda package at least 7 days in advance of the board meeting. Further, that the board recommends that the policy committee amend policy 8.1 8.4.1 to include a section with this requirement, and that the failure to provide the supplement information in advance may result in the presenters being asked to postpone their presentations. This is being moved by Trustee Gimber, and I will let her speak to it.
Thank you. So you had a really good introduction to the whole thing. We often receive handouts and slides that contain a lot of information that I believe needs to be examined and regurgitated and thought through a lot more than just being presented the day of or at the meeting itself. So I would like to, I think the board should proceed with this recommendation.
Sorry, just spilling soda over here for a minute. Thank you for that. So we'll just open it up to discussion around this motion coming forward and getting the information beforehand, at least 7 days beforehand. So is there any questions or comments around this piece? Seeing none. Okay, Trustee Toon.
There we go. Get everything turned on. Thanks. Appreciate Trustee Gibber bringing this forward. It always is crucial, I think, to have as much information as soon as possible so we can come to the meetings prepared. Question I would have is around why just presentations, why not other agenda items that might not, like any regular board meeting agenda item. Sometimes we show up and there's something on the agenda and then we get a sheet of paper placed in front of us. I think budgeting information or financial implications on things. I support the motion, but I don't know if it would change the intent. I would throw out there including anything that has budgetary implications. Having that information before we make a decision, I think it is key as well. And would like to hear her, Trustee Gimber's thoughts on that, please.
Thank you, Trustee Toon. We'll let you speak to that, Trustee Gimber.
Thank you. The intent behind this motion is to include any materials, any supplemental materials that are on the agenda. So that would include the agenda items, the budgeting stuff, the presentation. So I am open to any friendly amendment to make that the case.
Okay, thank you, Trustee Gimber. Did you want to share wording on that, Trustee Toon?
I would, yeah, just include, I don't know exactly where in that recommendation included requirement, in this requirement, supplemental presentation material, including financial documents or item budget implications. Because if you're going to make a motion that has budget implications and we don't know what those are, it's really challenging to make those implications.
Thank you, Trustee Toon. We'll just get a minute. Including, what is it, Brad? Trustee Toon, including
financial documents and budget implications.
Trustee Gimber, you still consider that a friendly amendment? I'll just read it. The motion now reads, the board recommends that all presenters to the board shall submit their supplemental presentation material, including financial documents and budget implications, to be included in the agenda package at least 7 days in advance of the board meeting. Further, the board recommends that the policy committee amend policy 8.4.1 to include a section with this requirement, and that failure to provide the supplemental information in advance may result in the presenter being asked to postpone their presentation. Is that friendly?
That's friendly.
Okay, thank you. We'll go to Trustee Hodges.
I do appreciate the intent of the motion under the budget oh my gosh. Anyhow, sometimes though, we as an audit committee can't meet that far in advance to have the information in by the 7-day timeline. And so we can't put off the budget. So in this, I don't know if it's saying that we wouldn't be able to talk about the budget at that point. I mean, we do, as an audit committee, try really hard to try and get the information as soon as possible. But even this month with the audit going on, we can't even meet until the 24th due to the auditors. And so I feel like this motion would tie our hands because we're not always able to meet that far in advance. We are trying really hard to get all the information out in advance to everybody because I do realize that the budget is a big topic to talk about, but the audit committee goes through that's why the audit committee is there, to go through the big picture items on them, and then we bring the recommendations forward to the board. And so I don't feel like I don't feel like the timeline would work.
Thank you, Trustee Hodges. Trustee Long?
Yeah, the wording is not correct, either on the friendly amendment or the amendment. It should be the board recommends that all presenters to the board shall submit supplemental, not there, because you already said presenters, and not just being picky, because it affects the rest. Presentation material, the way it's worded now, it states that the presentation material will include financial documents and budget implications. I don't think that's what Trustee Toon meant. So it needs to be a list. Because right now it reads that the supplemental presentation will include financial documents.
Oh, I see what you mean. It says that the board recommends that the presenters to the board shall submit their supplemental presentation materials, including these things.
Comma, financial documents and or budget implications.
Okay, is that your recommendation?
It's up to Trustee Toon.
Is that a friendly recommendation? Okay, go ahead, Trustee Toon.
Yeah, I think the list, I appreciate Trustee Long bringing that forward. I think it clarifies the intent. Yeah, or strike out including. Yeah, if you took out including, if you just had that comma, I think that.
Yeah, make a list.
Yeah.
Serious.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you all very much for that wordsmithing. Is there any further? Yep. Submit supplemental presentation materials, comma, financial documents, comma, oh, and budget, and yeah, okay. Is that right now? Do you want a comma after financial documents?
Well, and also you've got it to be included at the end. That's twice. So I would put supplemental presentation materials, comma, financial documents and or budget implications to be included. So take out the including before financial. Supplemental presentation material, financial documents and or budget implications to be included.
Okay, thank you. Further discussion around this item? Trustee Toon?
I appreciate Trustee Hodges bringing forward the example of audit committee, and I know audit committee timelines are tight. I think, yeah, Trustee Gimmer's use of the words may result in the presentation being asked to postpone the presentation doesn't mean shall. We understand the timelines that audit committee is on, and that falls into a different realm. I think we're talking in general how we're going to handle the monthly agendas where we have on average multiple presentations and items on there, not something as the committee of audit committee. But even that, having draft documents provided as soon as possible, I think really helps the rest of the board know what is going to be discussed in there, and knowing that it can change between when the package goes out or when the board meets.
Thank you. We'll go to Trustee Stankiewicz.
I agree with Trustee Toon.
Thank you. Any other conversations around this? Trustee Hodges?
So in Trustee Toon saying that, I just want to make sure then that it's everyone's understanding that if this is a change to policy 8.4.1, that if audit committee doesn't make the timelines that that it's going to be okay. So I just want to make sure that it's very clear when somebody reads this that that's going to be probably most of the time with audit committee. I mean, we, like I said, try really hard to get it in as soon as we can, but that's not always possible. So I just appreciate the comment, but just want to make sure that the understanding is there that putting this in here and saying that it may is everybody's understanding.
Thank you, Trustee Hodges. Okay, so just before I let Trustee Gimber close, I'll just speak to this a little bit also. I like the idea of having as much information. I agree with all of this. I do struggle a little bit with it saying may, although I know that it does say may for situations such as the audit committee. Who is this left up to then? Is the chair and vice chair? When we approve the final presentation, if we don't have things, is it the chair and the superintendent who are supposed to decide? We don't have this to go out with the agenda, so we are asking them to not be on the agenda, or do we have to reach out to the entire board? And I do just worry about optics of, we were away at a conference, we had 2 presenters who came and just sent us the information that morning. We were away at a conference, we didn't get it to you, we're sorry, but we're here now, we'll present it, and now you have it. And then being asked not to come, but then but we saw that your audit committee that you guys sit on didn't meet till the 24th, and you were still allowed to present 4 days later. So, like, when you guys don't have your stuff together in time, there's allowances made, but, we were out doing our job and doing the best we can, and even though we prioritized presenting to the board, we had to be at these conferences and stuff, and we got bumped. I worry about that. I worry about the optics of that. So aside from that, I think it should either be they will be asked to be later, or I don't think it should say may, because that leaves too many questions of who decides who's getting cut and who's not. Aside from that uncertainty, I would be in favor of this. So if there's no other discussion, then I will send it to Trustee Gimber to close. Okay, go ahead, Trustee Gimber. Sorry, Trustee Gimber, did you want to close?
I appreciate all of the conversation around this. The intent behind it is not to tie the hands of the audit committee at all. And I understand that may is very subjective. There's just been several occasions I can think of where stuff has been presented to us, not from the audit committee, but other departments, that if I had had the information in advance, I know I would have had questions that I could have asked at the time. And that's where this motion is coming from. So I ask that you consider approving it, and we can amend it maybe later or something. I don't know. I'll just leave it at that closed.
Thanks, Trustee Gimber. So the amended motion reads that the board recommends that all presenters to the board shall submit supplemental presentation material, financial documents, and/or budget implications to be included in the agenda package at least 7 days in advance of the board meeting. Further, the board recommends that Policy Committee amend Policy 8.4.1 to include a section with this requirement, and that failure to provide the supplemental information in advance may result in the presenters being asked to postpone their presentation. All in favor of this motion? Thank you. Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. We'll move on to E2, self-evaluation. Pardon me. As per Board Policy 3, which states the board shall annually evaluate the board and superintendent effectiveness through self-evaluation and annually review the board's goals, priorities, and strategies and develop a plan to achieve them. The recommendation is that the board reach out to Cal Hauserman and David George to achieve both the self-evaluation and review and a date set by the chair and vice chair. This is being moved by Trustee Hodges. I will let you speak to that now, Trustee Hodges.
Thank you. I think that this is a really important role as being trustee. And we had the conversation last time about moving our superintendent's evaluation, and we've decided not to. So I do believe that we need to move forward and set a date. Cal Hauserman and David George have been part of our annual reviews. I would like the chair and vice chair, like I say in the recommendation, for them to reach out. I'd like us to develop, we talk about even just a mid-year check-in to make sure that we're still where we want to be. I would really like to have that time with the board. It's a good PD opportunity for us all to discuss our goals and priorities and then set our dates. And so I just, yeah, I'll just open it up for questions.
Thank you, Trustee Hodges. Is there any questions or conversation around this motion? Go ahead, Trustee Long.
Yeah, I like this recommendation because both Mr. Hauserman and Mr. George have facilitated our evaluations in the past and have done a very good job of doing it and know us quite well individually. So I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. We'll go to Trustee Toon.
Just a question on the recommendation. It's in the roles and responsibilities of the chair and the vice to bring forward recommendations on evaluation, and specifically on the facilitator. This, in my time as a trustee, this has never been something that typically has come from a trustee, just because logistics wise, and that falls under their role because they can bring forward multiple candidates and then ask the board kind of who they think we should go to, not selecting one, and just questioning why the rationale of bringing forward one person as opposed to allowing the chair and the vice to do the roles that we elected them to bringing forward.
Just having conversation around the last time we talked about looking at facilitators. The board just didn't come up with anything, and I didn't hear any conversation on moving forward and having a conversation. So I just wanted to make sure that this wasn't lost. And because June comes up really fast, I felt like this was something that I wanted to make sure that the board had the opportunity to have input into, and that to have the conversation and to get it moving forward.
Thank you, Trustee Hodges. Trustee Yeagas?
Yeah, I agree with Trustee Hodges. I think it's important right now that we get on to this. It's already November and we better be looking at booking them. And obviously, you know, when the chair and vice chair look at this, we'll make the decision, but I'm going to recommend they look at it in May or June. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Yeagas. Just to speak to that also, myself as chair and Trustee Long as vice chair, in our last discussions, our understanding was that the board was feeling like not going with a mid-year checkup, and that they were just going to wait and do self-evaluation only. And we also had not had any direction on the list of facilitators we had sent out. So we had planned to speak about it in the new year, as we thought it was just looking at an evaluation for the year end. So that was our understanding. Is there any further discussion around this motion? Trustee Toon?
Thanks. Yeah, thank you for all the clarity around that. With the motion just reading, specific facilitators and review the dates, I would be opposed to the motion. I think that we have a lot of big things coming up, both provincially and as a board, and some of those discussions will have a big impact on how we move forward as a board, and I don't want to make the decision right now trying to crystal ball what our needs are, not knowing how a lot of those discussions are going to go. We have a big process happening in Nanton, and we might need some facilitation for that kind of work and discussion of community engagement. So I think that I would be opposed to the motion, allow our chair and our vice to bring forward stuff in a timely manner like they always do, and we can continue on. I appreciate Trustee Hodges' intent on wanting to nail this down, but I think the process that we've been following of having the buffet set before us and making a choice works, and I would rather go back to that process.
Thank you, Trustee Toon. Any further conversation around this? Seeing none, I will let Trustee Hodges close if she'd like.
Thank you. I did make it specific to Cal and David because they have facilitated our last 2 self-evaluations with our superintendent and ourselves and help us achieve and set our goals and priorities. And so I felt they were a good fit. We've only, as this board, is our new board here, done 1 self-evaluation with them. And so I am comfortable with Cal and David facilitating our self-evaluation and review. I realize that we do have some big things coming forward, but there's also other facilitators that we as a board can choose. I just think that this was, yeah, I'll just leave it at that, and
Thank you.
I'll close.
Thanks, Trustee Hodges. The recommendation is that the board reach, so that would be the board chair and vice chair, the board reach out to Cal Hauserman and David George to achieve both the self-evaluation and review and dates set by the chair and vice chair. All those in favor of this motion? Those against? Perfect, that is carried. Thank you very much. I would now move that we suspend the rules and consider E5 out of order. Trustee Toon must leave this meeting at 3 o'clock sharp, and this is something he will be speaking to. So, all in favor of suspending the rules and considering E5 out of motion? Out of order, sorry. All those in favor? Okay. So we will go ahead and move to E5. Sorry, one moment, please. So E5 is that the Board of Trustees have received a request from Edmonton Public School Board Chair Tricia Estabrook for the board to consider seconding an emergent position statement opposing the voucher system. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees support and second the emergent position statement opposing a voucher system from the Edmonton Public School Board. This is being moved by Trustee Toon, and I will have him speak to it now.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the reason this is coming forward is, as you know, I have sat on the Alberta School Boards Association Board of Directors with Tricia Estabrook, the current chair of Edmonton Public Schools. And we had a discussion about emergent motions that are position statements that are coming forward for our FGM. And she mentioned that Edmonton Public was going to be bringing this forward for consideration, and asked if this would be something willing to possibly have Livingstone second that. And I said I'd love to bring it forward for our board for consideration. I know that we've in the past sponsored seconded motions by Edmonton Public, and I think it really speaks to collaboration across the province when you have one of the largest boards in the province partnering with a rural board on this, that we all feel that these are issues that affect all of us and could be to the detriment of public education in our province. For those of you that aren't aware, a voucher system is something that could really harm the current funding levels of our public education schools, where it could be an increase to schools of our current other options in our province of private and charter. We all support choice in the province, but we also feel that it can't be to the detriment of public education. So with the current political climate, there has been discussions about the possibility of something like this being brought up in our province, and we feel that it's important that we have a position statement so our association can advocate for us and for all our students in Livingston Range and elsewhere in the province to make sure we continue to have the world-class education system that we all know and love.
Thank you so much, Trustee Toon. We'll open it now for questions and comments around seconding this motion. Go ahead, Trustee Long.
Yeah, this is a really important consideration, and it's ironic this has come up just after 30 minutes after talking about having more information before we have these things presented at a board meeting. Although I'm very aware of what the voucher system is and the pros and cons, I would like to have had something from the Edmonton Public School Board, a document stating their argument before discussing this today.
Thank you, Trustee Long. Go ahead, Trustee Toon.
Yeah, so there, the package, our chair included the documentation that they sent with the position statement. It was included as an attachment in our documentation. And I think that it's true there's a lot of information floating out there on the voucher system. So if anybody would like to further look into it, you can Google you can get some of that additional research and information. The challenge with this one is that we don't have another meeting before our fall general meeting, so we're kind of on a time crunch to let both Edmonton Public know and get this prepared to send out to our association.
Thank you very much. We'll go to Trustee Yegus.
Trustee Hodges had her hand up before me. Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Trustee Hodges.
Okay. I really agree that we should be supporting this. I know in the past, and I don't know how many years ago that was, but I think it was at one of these meetings, either Rural Caucus or something, where they had, they showed films and that about what happens with the voucher system and some of the states, and like she said in here, one state enacted that, and basically what it ended up being was private schools, charter schools, public schools were underfunded. Actually, I think it was Michigan who did it. So I really agree that we should support this wholeheartedly, and hopefully the rest of the province, educational people within the province also come out and come out against this, because I think this is something that we can really take a stand on, or should take a stand on.
Thank you, Trustee Yegus. We'll go to Trustee Hodges.
I also agree that this is really important. I really hope that when we're at our FGM that they consider this an emergent motion, because this gives the ASBA something on their books then to be able to talk to government about. So I'd be full in support of this.
Thank you. Any other thoughts or comments around this? Go ahead, Trustee Long.
Yeah, I want to publicly make an apology to Brad and the Edmonton Public School Board Chair. I wish I could say that it was old eyes, but I did not see that little text.
Thank you, Trustee Long. I guess we're fortunate that you are aware of the voucher system and have some knowledge on it aside from just this information. I had not heard much about it, so this was very informative for me. Is there any other comments or questions around this piece? If not, Trustee Toon, did you want to close?
Just want to thank everyone for the comments on this and understanding that this is a big issue that could become a lot bigger in the near future, and that this is part of our important advocacy work we do as elected officials to make sure we stay ahead of current trends and watch anything on the radar of current political landscape. So appreciate your support in this issue.
Thank you very much. The recommendation reads that the Board of Trustees support and second the emergent positions statement opposing a voucher system from the Edmonton Public School Board, moved by Trustee Toon. All of those in favor? That is carried. I will send her an email after our meeting and let her know that we are happy to second that. Thank you very much. We'll move back to E3 now. Kilometers and rate of pay. Go ahead, Trustee Toon.
Just, Madam Chair, I would ask that we go to E4. Just, I'm really cognizant of the time and want to make sure that I'm here for the discussion on that item being the rep
Okay.
from Granham.
But
if
you
that's
have
okay.
to say, I move that we suspend
I
the
move that we
rules
suspend
and
the rules
consider
and consider
E4.
E4.
Perfect, thank you. All in favor of suspending the rules and considering E4 out of order? All those in favor? Okay, thank you. We're just moving backwards here. Carla, we do want to do E3. We're coming. Okay, so we're going to go to Board Policy 16. Okay, sorry, just one second. My apologies. In response to the postponed motion, do I have this in front of me? Okay, there we go. In response to the postponed motion, number 22-056, on October 24th of 2022, Daryl Sequin, our superintendent, will discuss Board Policy 16. As per Board Policy 16, school closures, modernization, and reconfigurations, the board recognizes that under certain conditions, it may become necessary to consider the closure of a school or a portion of a school to ensure the responsible and effective use of the resources. And therefore, the recommendation is that the Board of Trustees intake a stakeholder engagement with the Granham School community. Can I get someone to make this motion, please? Trustee Toon, he's here for it. Okay, and then Trustee Toon, would you like to speak to it?
I would like our superintendent to speak first, please.
All right, thank you very much. As you know, the Granham School student population has been low for many years. And currently the school is kindergarten to grade 9 with under 40 students, and it's projected to dip lower over the next few years. So given the continuing forecasted decline in enrollment, I feel it's important to begin formal conversations with the Granham School community to explore potential possibilities for the future of Granham. So I ask that that be presented to the board today for consideration.
Thank you very much, Mr. Seguin. Mr. Toon, did you want to speak to that at all before I open it up for questions?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate the superintendent bringing this recommendation forward. I know that it's important that we are proactive in having discussions that with such big implications. I know in my time as a trustee that the board has been very supportive of Granham and the community there, as with all our communities, and making sure that we're doing the best we can to tailor to the needs of the community. And I think that this engagement is a great first step to have discussions with the community on what they see as to help the sustainability of the community and the school going forward. So really, I think it'll be important for us to have these discussions and get that feedback as we move forward to make sure we're doing what's best for all our students.
Thank you so much, Trustee Toon. Unless there's a trustee who wants to chair this, I think I'll recuse myself as chair just for the rest of this conversation and turn it over to Mr. Perry to chair this portion, if you're okay with that. I probably should have done it before the motion was made and everything, but is there any other trustee who wants to chair? No? Okay, I'll turn it to you, Mr. Perry.
Okay, thank you. Given the fact that Trustee Toon has spoken, is there any comments or questions in relation to the motion? I can't see who was first. Trustee Yegas?
This is in regard to Board Policy 16, and I know we haven't passed the last one, and we had our policy meeting just the same time as the call out for these, and so it was sent, so there is going to be a change. But so if anybody wants to look at it, I'll ask us to pass that at the next meeting. So, but basically on this, I think that having a stakeholder engagement is a good idea.
Thank you, Trustee Yegus. Trustee Poitras.
This is excellent timing as we were able to be in Granham School earlier today. And it's such a brilliant little school. They may be small in number, but they are mighty out there in spirit and community. And recently we have taken a look at communication and the way we communicate with our school communities, but also the communities that our schools are in. And so I think this is such an important thing, as Granham is a small community and a small school, and they are woven together intricately. The board wants Granham to know that we see the huge role that the school plays in, and we want to speak with them as we move forward to find the best solution for the school and what that looks like in the future. So I'm in support of this motion. I'm looking forward to hearing what the stakeholders have to say in Granham and in that school community, so that we can use that information moving forward as a board of trustees to do what is in the best interest of the school and that community. So I appreciate this recommendation coming forward, and I look forward to hearing about that engagement session.
Thank you, Trustee Poitras. Is there any other questions, comments? Trustee Gimber.
Thank you. I'm in support, echoing what Trustee Toon and Trustee Poitras had to say. I'm looking forward to hearing the community speak at an engagement session with regards to opportunities that they may see, what they think of the Granham School, and I feel strongly that communication needs to be paramount in anything that we do with regards to Policy 16.
Thank you, Trustee Gimber. Any further questions, comments? Okay, Trustee Toon, we'll give it back to you to close if you'd like.
No, I don't think I have anything further to say. Thank you.
Okay, with that, we will call the question. The motion is that the Board of Trustees initiate a stakeholder engagement with the Granham School community. All those in favor? That is carried. I will now pass the chair back over to Trustee Poitras.
Thank you very much. Okay, there's no more out of orders here. We're moving right to E3. We will excuse Trustee Toon if you need to go. Okay, he's prioritizing it. So we're moving on to E3. I'm going to read the preamble, because she wrote it. So, in response to Trustee Gimber's notice of motion at the October 24th, 2022 board meeting, Trustee Gimber will discuss kilometers and rate of pay. The price of fuel has increased significantly over the past year. LRSD has not made an adjustment to the rate per kilometer this past year, and according to Policy 8, 6.4 Appendix C, number 5, per kilometer reimbursement for travel less than 5 kilometers as per the provincial rate of pay 0.505 per kilometer are eligible for eligible meetings. And 6, upon researching 5 other school divisions in Alberta, their rates vary from 0.54 to 0.58 per kilometer, with an average of 0.562, and the ATA is 0.58. Because any change affects the whole division's travel expense, the board directs the administration to present the impact of an increase to the budget upon reviewing the shared information. The board recommends increasing the per kilometer rate from 0.505 to 0.57. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees direct the Policy Committee to change Policy 8, Section 6, Appendix C, item to read 6.4 Appendix C, 5, per kilometer reimbursement for travel more than 5 kilometers at 0.57 per kilometer for eligible meetings. This is being moved by Trustee Gimber, and I will allow her to speak to it.
Thank you. Well, as we all know, the price of fuel has increased significantly over the past several months, and an increase in the per kilometer fuel expense for our board would be in line with what other boards are doing. Research was done. We did ask the administration to present the impact of an increase on our budget, and we reviewed that. And upon that review, this is the recommendation that I'm putting forward today.
Thank you so much, Trustee Gimber. I'll open it up for conversation and discussion. Okay. Trustee Yegas?
Yeah, I think one of the things we've always said is that trustees should never be out of pocket for travel, because that's something we have to do. And not only trustees, but everybody else who in the division too. So I agree with this increase.
Thank you, Trustee Yegas. We'll go to Trustee Toon.
Thank you. I'm opposed to this. I appreciate Trustee Gimmer bringing this forward. Really struggle with this one because it affects other people, but I'm opposed for this increase for trustees. We have been tied to the government rate as long as I've been a trustee, and our association is tied to the government rate. We did that with our per diems as well to help correlate the hands-off approach with those things, that they would be set by the government who looks at this for time to time. I know there hasn't been an increase in it lately, and some other boards have gone away, but there are a lot of boards that have not done so. And in saying that some of the ones that have, they haven't increased in other areas, and we've increased significantly. When you talk about the increase that each individual trustee is guaranteed $3,000 this year to up to $5,000 or more, because we don't really know those numbers. Per diem was increased hundreds of percent. Our travel time was increased hundreds of percent. We're seeing increases in other areas, so I think that we can hold off on this. It isn't emergent to make these changes for us right away. I don't think that it is fair when we're getting additional thousands of dollars every year going forward from now to immediately do this as well, that we should be able to wait on this and see what changes will be coming from the government.
Thank you, Trustee Toon. Any other thoughts or conversations around this? No? Okay. Just before I turn it back to Trustee Gimber, I'll just say I appreciate that the board took the time and had the information brought forward and reviewed. This is directly tied to the per kilometer rate of pay for the entire division. I think it's important that there has been some talk throughout the division around whether or not we are going to increase in the significant travel that's done in our division, because it is such a large land mass area, that this is something that would make a difference for the great distance that a lot of our employees travel. So I think that this is a great move, and that's my thoughts. So I'll turn it to you, Trustee Gimber, to close.
Thank you. I don't really have anything in addition to say. Thanks.
Thank you. So the recommendation is that the Board of Trustees initiate a stakeholder, oh no, that's not it. That the Board of Trustees direct the Policy Committee to change Policy 8, Section 6, Appendix C, Item 5 to read 6.4, Appendix C 5, per kilometer reimbursement for travel more than 5 kilometers is at $0.57 per kilometer for eligible meetings. All of those in favor? Oh, sorry.
Madam Chair, I'd ask for a recorded vote.
Okay. Okay, all of those in favor? Okay, all of those against? that is passed. Go ahead, you, Jeff, Mr. Perry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate just clarification on implementation timeframe. So it's going to the policy committee. Is there a timeframe when this would be implemented, and is there a motion that needs to be passed to indicate that?
Okay, when a motion is passed, it comes into effect immediately is the understanding of the board unless it is, unless it's directly stated in the recommendation or the motion that it would take place either before or after that date. So this would come into effect immediately and policy would make the changes as soon as possible. Is that the understanding of the board? Sorry, stop. Sorry. So because it's in the appendix, that doesn't actually have to come to the board as approval. Like the policy isn't actually changed, the appendix is. Trustee Stankiewicz, I'm sorry.
No, I believe the last change we made it at the end of the month for payroll purposes.
Any thoughts around that? Go ahead, Trustee Egas.
I didn't hear what she said.
She said the last change that we made that had to do with financial pay, we made effective the first of the following month just for payroll, so it wasn't halfway through month. So did you want to make a motion to that effect? Yeah.
I move that we change it as such.
Okay, so the recommendation would be that the Board of Trustees implement the new per kilometer rate of pay starting December 1st, 2022. Is that correct? Does that read okay? So I'll just read that, make sure we got it right. That the Board of Trustees implement the new per kilometer rate of pay starting December 1st, 2022. Are you comfortable with that wording? Okay, and that's being moved by Trustee Stankiewicz. Did you want to speak to it?
For administration, being able to pay properly, and I feel it would be helpful to have it on a new payroll cycle.
Thank you. Any questions or comments about this? Discussion around it? Okay. Nope. Trustee Toon and then Trustee Kimber.
I would for the amendment to delay it till our next budget. This has been something that has not been budgeted for, and that the recommendation came forward at a time midstream, so it could be delayed till the next budget, and that way give administration time to prepare for it and build it into our next budget cycle.
Would you consider that a friendly amendment? I think it changes the intent, so obviously not. So are you recommending that be an amendment? Okay, so the amendment is that the Board of Trustees implement the new per kilometer rate of pay starting, you want to say September 1st?
Yeah, September 1st.
September
2023.
1st, 2023. So we're only discussing the amendment. Is there any discussion around that? Okay. Go ahead, Trustee Gimber.
I'll say something just because nobody else has. The intent behind the original motion was because of the changes that have happened in the past 4 months to the per kilometer rate that I think delaying it until September of 2023 is, who knows, it could be at $5. Oh my gosh, I shouldn't even say that. But I'm against that.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion only around the amendment? Okay, the amendment reads, yep, go ahead, Trustee Toon.
Yeah, I would close on the amendment. I think it's important to realize that there are a lot of other external things going on, that administration is busy doing other things, and giving them proper time to implement some of this stuff. We're already mid-month, would really help benefit their side of things from administration, because we are the majority of the cost of kilometers in the division. The amount that as we were shared, the amount of that this will affect employees is really small. So getting that in place, and we have had increases. So I don't feel that this would severely impact anyone when we've had increases of thousands of dollars to our rate of pay. So I would ask that we consider doing this September 1st, 2023.
Thank you. And the motion reads, the amendment to the motion reads that the Board of Trustees implement the new per kilometer rate of pay starting September 1st, 2023. All in favor? Okay, any opposed? Perfect. The original motion reads that the Board of Trustees implement the new per kilometer rate of pay starting December 1st, 2022. Go ahead, Trustee Toon.
Madam Chair, I'd ask that my vote on the last amendment be recorded, please.
Okay. I paused significantly.
Hit the button slow,
Oh,
thank
I've
you.
never heard my laugh on a microphone before. Sorry about that. Okay. Thank you. Is there further discussion on the motion? Seeing none. Trustee Stankiewicz, did you wish to close on it, or are you good?
I don't feel we need to close on this.
Perfect, thank you. So the recommendation is that the Board of Trustees implement the new per kilometer rate of pay starting December 1st, 2022. We're now going to vote on this. Okay, all in favor? Those opposed? Thank you. Okay, I honestly don't know where we are now. Let me see. Moving on to, okay, we're going to, thank you. Thank you guys so much. Even though we did it backwards, we hit them all. So I guess we didn't have to move out of out of order. So can I get a motion to go in camera at 3:10? By Trustee Toon. Thank you. We will move in camera and come back for our key messages. Wait, who is in favor of going in camera? All those in favor? I thought me and Trustee Toon wanting to go was enough. Okay, so that's carried. We'll move in camera now. Okay. You guys were just going to come and do our 3 key messages. So are we live now? Yeah. Oh, yay, we're live now. Okay. Okay, thank you. So we had a motion to come out of camera from Trustee Hodges at 3:41, and we need to move on to G, picking our key messages from today. Before we pick those, I would make the recommendation, or just a reminder that we do have our meeting on the 28th. So if we wanted to have one of the key messages from that meeting, which would be like the financials, that's something that we could do. So anyways, just if we normally share that information. So is there anyone who'd like to add something to the key messages? Trustee Hodges?
I would like to talk about the Granum and engagement with our stakeholders.
Thank you. Okay. Any other? Go ahead, Trustee Hodges.
So because we have another board meeting, at the end of this month, I guess we don't necessarily have to have all 3 today even, so. Yeah.
Okay, so we will put Granum engagement with stakeholders on our key message, and we will just not put this on the table, we'll postpone it. Did you say? Sorry, okay, go ahead. Jocelyn's like, I have the paper, I know what to say. Go ahead.
I'd like to recommend that we postpone this
Until,
the next meeting.
okay, so there's a motion on the floor from Trustee Stangiewicz to postpone the November key messages until the November 28th meeting. So the recommendation to postpone the November key messages until the November 28th board meeting. Is there any further discussion around this? Okay, so we'll keep the Granum engagement session with stakeholders on there and postpone the next 2. All in favor? Perfect. Thank you so much for that, Trustee Stangiewicz. And so that moves us to item I. Adjournment. The recommendation that the Board of Trustees vote in favor of the meeting being adjourned at 3:49. That's Trustee Stangiewicz. All in favor? Thank you very much.